Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Pathway to Profession, a podcast all about early careers and apprenticeships. Today, we have a very special guest, the Microsoft magician, in the house today, Iman, in the building. How are you doing, Iman?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you both?
I'm doing good as well. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. So excited to have the Microsoft magician on.
I
I
had
love
to come up
this
with some.
Microsoft magician name. You know what? I'll take it.
I had to come up with something real quick. But yeah, Iman, I'm sure all the viewers are interested to know about you, your apprenticeship journey. So, would you mind just introducing yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Iman and I am a level 6 not digital support technician. I'm a business program manager apprentice at Microsoft and I've been with the company for about 3 years now. So I had a bit of a unique journey into Microsoft where I actually started on a level 3 and then transitioned onto a level 6, which I'm sure I'll speak about a bit more later on. But yeah, I'm sort of aligned to our legal team at Microsoft.
Ah,
And yeah, that's basically a short introduction on me.
cool, cool.
Perfect. Well, let's dive into what initially drew you to apprenticeships and why did you choose Microsoft? How did you know apprenticeships was that right path for you, Iman?
Yeah, so I think for me, I was actually quite like dead set on going to uni when I was like
Hmm.
at form. And I went to like this sort of like shadowing program where it's like a week long with Cambridge. And I was basically just shadowing like a geography uni student. And like not to sound dramatic, but it was like the worst week of like my life at sixth form.
Oh,
Like I absolutely hated it, like from the way like the lecture styles were to just like the general textbook learning. I just didn't enjoy it, and I was like so gutted leaving because geography and psychology was like one of the subjects I was most passionate about to study, and it was sort of almost like like the game plan that I sort of had in my mind was just sort of like shattered, and so I was like, there has to be like alternative options, and that's when I sort of came across apprenticeships, and my school wasn't too keen on apprenticeships, to be completely honest. So I was just sort of doing a lot of research on my own, and I basically just did loads of research, and then I saw like this Microsoft old apprenticeship video on like YouTube, and I was like, well, let me have a look if they've got vacancies, and I applied, and then managed to get in straight after my A levels. So that's sort of basically how I got into it.
wow, fair enough. Yeah, I went under a similar thing. Ended up
Mm.
actually going to university and then regretting it and then finding out about apprenticeships and doing my own research. But it seems like there's a common trend where everyone has to actually research and understand what the hell an apprenticeship is because they're not
Mm.
exposed to it at school, which really sucks. Um,
I feel like
but
it's
yeah,
not.
Yeah,
It's not really marketed properly, is it? Because even in my college, they didn't talk too much about apprenticeships at all. University was like everyone was just pushing that. Yo, Shaz, you're gonna go
mm,
uni. When you gonna go uni? I'm like, how come you're not talking about apprenticeships to me? Like, no one
yeah,
really discussed it. So yeah, I definitely agree with you guys.
yeah. I think like also like when I would speak about apprenticeships to like teachers and like just people at school, I think there's like a lot of stigma around it. Like it's it's almost like you've got the really old fashioned stereotypes where it's like, oh, it's for like bricklaying or
Yeah.
builders.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Tea and
It's
coffee.
like yeah, they're like you're just gonna go make tea and coffee for these like corporate bosses, and I was like, like you do kind of think about it on your own, but I was like so stubborn. I was like, if this is what university is like, I don't want to do it. I'd much rather do an apprenticeship. And my teachers were like, are you sure? Like, and then I was like, no, like I'm so determined to do an apprenticeship. I didn't even apply to university. I didn't even like
Mm.
consider it afterwards. I was just like so dead set on doing an apprenticeship. And I was quite fortunate that my oldest sister, she did an apprenticeship. So
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
she did it in like childcare. So hers was like a bit of a different like pathway, but she was like, look, I'm enjoying it. So if you need help convincing like family or if school isn't helping, then I've got you. So that was definitely a plus.
Yeah. So you could see it kind of firsthand of someone who's done it,
Mm.
had that experience as well. I think that's definitely important because even with this podcast, how we're talking from a level of experience, and not a lot of people see it from that lens. They just see as an apprenticeship as an alternative university being pushed by companies, but not a lot
Yeah,
of like students, people, apprentices themselves are pushing it. So that's what this podcast is all about, really, to kind of help students understand what it is from our perspective as well.
definitely. And I
Were
think it's
you?
sorry.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say, were you first exposed to apprenticeships through your sister? Then was she the one who introduced you to it?
So I'd say yes and no. Like she's much older than me. She's like 28 now. So when she was like sort of like going through school and like studying and doing an apprenticeship, I was like still, I think, like in primary school, so I was still very much
Yeah.
like clueless to like what she was actually doing. And then I think when it came to picking my options, and she was like, "Oh well, you know, like I did an apprenticeship for like 2 years, and you know, I didn't turn out too bad." So I think it was sort of like I came across it, and then when I was like sort of speaking to her about it, she was like, "Well, yeah, this is what I did." So yeah, it was like a mix of both, I'd say, for sure.
Fair enough. Cool. Thank you. It's nice that you managed to get the opportunity through your family, well, or get insight from your family. I know that sometimes your family isn't the most supportive when it comes to deviating from the traditional path.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Also, just touching on the whole bricklaying and making coffee for corporate bosses, I got the exact same lecture from one of my head of years when I was in school, and it was apprenticeships was so stigmatized that
Mm,
it wasn't in the technical area. It was all labor work or all, low qualifications. They never shown you that you can get a degree out of this thing and you can
Mm.
gain technical skills. I hope that the awareness is more, than now, but back, when we did school, it definitely wasn't. But yeah, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced so far during your apprenticeship, Iman? And how did you overcome them?
Um, yeah, good question. I would say so. When I joined on a level 3 apprenticeship, and I joined in a very technical team. So I was a custom engineer. There was a bit of coding, a lot of like technical support, a lot of like technical upskilling that I had to do.
Mm,
And I was 18 years old in this massive corporate tech team, one of the biggest
yeah.
in the world. And then I'm working with customers. Like my job was very much like customer facing, and I worked more with clients and external stakeholders and partners more than I did with like an internal team. And I'd say, you know, being an 18-year-old, basically like little girl who's just finished sixth form and working with like clients who are mainly men, like it was definitely difficult being like woman in STEM, being young, being early in career, and like being taken seriously by clients. And I think, you know, the imposter syndrome just like kicks in again.
Mm.
Like you think you're over it, and then it just sort of like comes rushing back when you're sitting in a call trying to like be taken seriously. And I'd say that was definitely a big challenge when I first joined. But it's something you sort of like you get over it. You build a good support system internally, and you know you speak to your manager or like mentors and buddies at work about it. And I think that definitely helped. But I'd say that was definitely the first challenge. And I'd also say like in general, like especially for school leavers, I can't speak for career switchers, but I went from like being in sixth form and having my own time managed, like literally just showing up to sixth form or school on the first day and like given a timetable, and now I have to manage my time from 9 to 5, be productive. You know, I'm in control of my calendar. I've got targets to meet. I've got, you know, tasks to complete, projects and deadlines to meet, and all that stuff. So, you know, it's very independent, and I think the jump from being a school leaver to being in the corporate world is was definitely something to get used to. And also, you know, you do find yourself procrastinating a little bit. You do find
Yeah.
yourself using up time after work to catch up on assignments because you haven't been using your study days. I think that's so like natural and normal, like in the first few months of the apprenticeship. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie,
definitely.
but yeah, I'd say those three for sure were definitely the biggest challenges.
I'd say, your point on like imposter syndrome as well. I
Mm,
feel like that's something a lot of apprentices will have at the beginning as well. And it's like what you said, having a support system in place and having, I feel like when I started my apprenticeship, we had quite a few of other apprentices in our office, which like really helped
mm,
as well, because when you have other people joining with you, you kind of build that network and you build that connection. And even like Iman, we'll talk about this a bit later, but obviously you're part of Ace Insights as well, and obviously, so Ace Insights is like full of young people at the same time doing apprenticeships, and I feel like having that in place it really helps kind of make you feel less like an imposter, and it makes you feel like you're doing something alongside other people, and people are going through the same struggles as you. Like for example, you spoke about deadlines, and it me and Joe
Yeah.
sometimes we're both talking to each other about deadlines. Oh Joe, when are we gonna finish this? And like sometimes I'm in Ace saying, "Yo Ace, like guys, I'm cooked. I got a deadline. What do I do?"
Yeah.
Having those systems in place, it's like it's really good to kind of um help you feel more welcome and fit in to like the corporate environment, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like a piece of advice that I got from some of my mentors, like the much more senior people, I was sort of speaking to them about imposter syndrome, and it's like it's actually natural. Like you'd think that like, oh, the director of your department doesn't feel imposter syndrome, but he or she probably does. Like
Mm.
it's it's common like for everyone in the workplace. Like, you know, there are days you feel like you don't know anything and like, what am I doing here? But I think the more and more people you speak to and sort of share your experiences with, it definitely becomes a bit easier to manage for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I spoke to my manager about an aspect of imposter syndrome. It was the same time that I got the apprenticeship. I was a few months in. Very similar situation you were in, Iman, where me and Shaz were in the same team, in a team called Future Voice. So we had to
Oh
deal
yeah.
with external clients, business owners who wanted voice solutions for their company. And same thing, you've got this a technical apprentice dealing with this major opportunity, and if we botch it, we can ruin the sale
Yeah.
and it won't
Yeah.
close. So we're closing the deal, making sure their solution is correct and everything. And sometimes we talk to, big business owners, so of course, what the hell am I doing there trying to close this massive value opportunity? I'm still in training. But yeah, you get used to it eventually. But it's a big first step, and like you said with imposter syndrome, having someone there to talk about, or some sort of support system, really does help. Like you said, buddies, mentors, whoever it might be, just someone that you can go and talk to is really important.
Definitely.
Otherwise, you're going to be in this loop
Yeah.
forever, where you think you have to put on a mask to go to work, force a smile, and pretend you know stuff that you don't. You don't want to do that. um, and yeah, the big thing, time management. Oof.
Oh, don't
I'm
ask me about
still
that.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone's still like, even now, like I'm on my second apprenticeship now, and I haven't mastered it. Like there's good days, there's bad days, basically.
Yeah,
Those award
it's a
applications,
it's a
Iman.
skill.
Those award applications, Iman. Yeah. That's a prime example of poor time management from all of us. That was just we
Yeah.
we were all just doing it last minute. I was like,
The group chat was it was like 2 a.m. I don't even know, ridiculous like hours of the day, and you've just got like all these apprentices just like saying we're still doing our assignment or we're still doing this, but
yeah. I think there's
you know
like
what,
a
we managed to do it in the end. So
yeah, we did, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like there's an art in doing things last minute because I'm sure me and Joe have been on calls
yeah,
last minute as well. I feel like but I feel like it really pushes out the inner. I don't even know, but like it makes you the urgency is there. You know what I mean? The urgency.
I think you probably perform well under pressure.
Yeah,
Would you say?
maybe. What's that quote? Like diamonds perform well under pressure. It's one of them ones. So yeah, there's an art
Yeah,
in
but
doing things.
also fail to prepare to
Yeah, to fail.
fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There might have to be a quote that's like in the middle somehow. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the person you are. I mean,
Mm,
don't get me wrong, everyone leaves things last minute.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you are leaving it last minute and it's been out of your control, having a friend or a co-worker, whoever it might be, who's also last minute, and you can jump in on a call with them and get it done, it makes things a lot easier. Um, but yeah, let's talk about your transition to that level 6 role. Shaz, do you want to take it from here?
yeah. So like Iman, I wanted to ask you this as well because a lot of like aspiring apprentices want to know this. Like after they've done their GCSEs, A levels, what are the differences in the different levels? Because I know you did a level 3 apprenticeship, and then you transition to level 6 once you've completed that one, am I right? So like
Yeah.
what would you say are the how was the transition? Was it a big gap in the levels? Like what would you say are the key differences?
So I would say, like generally, just for me, like the content was obviously different because I went from like a technical,
Mm,
um, level 3 apprenticeship to like the CMDA, like business sort of related apprenticeship. So I would say the content definitely changed. The marking is like a huge one. So when I was doing the
Mm.
level 3, you could have support. Like you only had like one skills coach, and he was basically the person who was like teaching you the content,
yeah.
also like making sure you're doing like all the off the job logs and all that fun stuff.
Oh.
Bloody hell, man.
Yeah. And then like he's also the one like checking your assignment. So he was basically like the main contact for everything with like
Mm,
the level 3 apprenticeship, and you sort of had a bit more support um along the way. So there was that, and then the jump to level 6 was that I'm doing assignments every 3 months, which definitely was a jump. And the grading is a bit more like harsh, I would say, compared like from like level 3 to a degree.
mm,
So I know like it's like 70 something percent for like first.
Yeah.
So yeah, and pretty much once you've submitted that assignment, that's basically the grade you're going to get.
yeah.
With the level 3, you can submit it and you can sort of like get feedback and then go back and change it. So
Yeah, okay. It's a bit more lenient,
definitely,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It was like sort of being back at school and the teacher's like sort of like saying wink wink, you can like change this. But
Yeah.
um that was definitely the big difference. And also I would just say like the knowledge, like the level of knowledge that you sort of get in the level 6 is so much more high. You've got things like theoretical frameworks and you have to link everything back to like theory. You've got loads of textbook reading to do, lectures to attend to. I didn't really have that in my level 3. And yeah, I'd just say like the content is a bit harder to be honest, which is a given.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it to be honest. It's definitely a jump, but I would say like doing like doing the second apprenticeship now, like going into the level 6 didn't seem as scary because I kind of knew what to expect. Like I knew I still had to do off the job portfolio stuff, the reviews with manager and your skills coach. So that stuff
Yeah.
sort of stays.
So you kind of had that bit of, I would say like a bit of a head start going into the level 6 because
Mm.
I'd say like when I first started my apprenticeship, those off the job logs. Oh my days, they would be such a killer. At the end of each week, yeah, you'd have to do those logs, and then if you didn't do them, you'd get an email from your skills coach or person.
Really?
You get no, you literally get like an email saying, "Oh, how come you haven't done them?" Then I had to go back and do them. So that was like one of the main things that kind of hit me a
Mm.
little bit. But like in terms of that, and because I know you did the jump as well, and this is more of like an overall question of like what advice would you give to apprentices, whether doing a level 3 one, level 6 one, because you've kind of had the taste of like of both now. So what would you say is like an advice for aspiring apprentices?
I would say do your off the job learning. Just do it. Do it on the Friday. Do it on wherever your study day is. Just do it in the morning. Get it out of the way.
I can vouch for
And
that. Yeah.
because otherwise it's just going to pile up and you're going to get to like halfway through your apprenticeship and you've got like 6 months of off the job learning to do and
Yeah.
you're not going to remember what you did like last week. So what makes you think you're going to remember what you did 6 months ago?
Yeah.
So I would just say like try to stay on top of it. I would say one thing that I took with me from the level 3 to the level 6 was staying ahead. And this is easier said than done, I know, but some of my lecturers would release like the content early, or you sort of get like a brief curriculum or the reading
Yeah.
done beforehand, and you sort of get access to it before. And I would say even just getting like one lecture ahead, like changed my life.
Yeah, I know what you
Like
mean.
it meant that I could go to lectures, and if you're not someone who like actively I guess can like listen and like take in all the information that a lecturer is like speaking to you for like 2 hours, then at least you've covered that content and it's almost like
A
active
recap.
recall, like it's just like a
Yeah.
revision session.
Yeah.
So that definitely helped. Like staying at least one or two lectures ahead, getting my notes done beforehand, and then I'll just kind of use the lectures as a podcast. I really hope no lecturer watches this, but I would basically put it on and just do other stuff because it just makes it so much easier. But I'd say that's definitely like my top tip between like transitioning from a level 3 to a level 6. Sorry, someone's just at my door, but I think
No
they're gone
worries.
now. I'm good.
I was gonna say I definitely agree with that because like Joe, I don't know if you
Mm.
remember, but when we did our new modules recently, we 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 were a lot more organized in the way we prepared for it, and we planned, and we had a proper step-by-step plan in place as soon as we in the launch week. So like what you're saying is like planning in advance, isn't it? Like making sure you have
Yeah,
all the bases covered before you actually even do the work for your assignment. Start planning, start preparing, because then at least then you've got a clear time frame of when you can get things done, and that links back to time management, doesn't it, as well?
yeah, definitely. And I'd say like it depends on the apprenticeship you're doing. Like I'm doing a business management, like the CMDA apprenticeship, but I'm in a
Yeah.
legal team. So there's only like so much projects I can get out of a certain team. So if you
Mm.
plan ahead and you've got a marketing project coming up, you know that you can speak to your marketing team in your company like a few months ahead and like sort out a project beforehand. But yeah, I'd say definitely planning ahead helps, but I can't say that I do that all the time.
Yeah, me neither. But it's good. It's definitely good advice, though. Like, I'm not saying I do it, but definitely good advice for you guys listening.
We don't do it, but you
But you
should.
should.
Um, no, it's a good habit, and these good habits take time to build. Um, but yeah, time management. I feel like everything links back to time management at the end of the
Mm,
day. Ugh. But yeah, um, let's move. Actually, no, I want to bring up one point. I need to get this down. Like in my calendar, I'll have everything sorted out, but I keep forgetting to block out time for when I'm doing solo
mm,
stuff. And people will see that time that I'm free and think, oh, we can pop a meeting here. So then I
Mm.
get my day filled with random meetings that I never wanted to be in, but sometimes I can't say no, especially if it's a higher up, because it might
yeah.
be important. Um, so I just get half the work I wanted to done because it's just filled with random meetings. Anyway, block out your time. Do that.
100%.
Uh,
100%. I've only started doing that
Yeah,
recently as well, but it's such a lifesaver, honestly. You know, when someone just randomly messages you on Teams and says, "Hello, free for a call." No, I'm not free. I know it says I'm available on Teams, but I'm revising, I'm studying. Just leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? So block out time, guys. I definitely recommend that one as well.
yeah. I think definitely. I think like time management was like they basically made us do like a rundown and all like the Microsoft
Mm.
like software. So I think like time blocking was definitely like one of the first things they taught us, and you can like color code your team's calendar as
Oh
well,
yeah, I just
which
realized
is
you work at
which is really
Microsoft.
helpful.
You work at Microsoft, so like you're literally like the team's master. Honestly, like you probably know how everything. You probably got. Hold on, she's probably got early access to like time blocking features and whatnot. That's the
I
Microsoft
cannot
magician.
confirm or deny.
But yeah, man.
uh, all right, let's move into your involvement in social mobility and diversity. I saw this, I picked it up from your LinkedIn, so I wanted to
That's funny
ask
you
you.
said.
You do play a role in it at Microsoft, so can you share what that involves and why it's important to you?
Yeah, so where so social mobility I sort of joined I sort of like came across it I think like over a year ago now. So I got invited to the 1 year social mobility ERG like celebration. It just popped up in my calendar and I was like, you know what, I'd actually go and I'll turn up. But essentially from there, like I was sort of doing like all these extracurricular stuff in my role anyway. I didn't really realize that it was linked to social mobility or that there was even like a word for it. And then our social mobility ERG was like growing and they were like, we need a deputy communications lead. And I was like, I'm early in career, but you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so I applied and got the role. And yeah, basically just spent like the year working with the leadership team, working with our co-chairs to basically just boost this ERG as much as we can. Because it was a new ERG, it was like a new network, and
Yeah.
we didn't have funding, we didn't have like the other ERGs do. We didn't even have a logo. Like we literally had a really
Um.
bad SharePoint site, and that's literally all we had. So in a year, transformed that SharePoint site, literally created a whole new strategy for our communications team, created a whole new like load of marketing content, and then basically we just relaunched on Social Mobility Day like a year ago, and then since then it's like just grown ridiculously. We've now got funding. We've been recognised by our UK CEO. We hosted our first in-person event. We've done collaboration events with like organisations like Upreach, LinkedIn, SMBP. It's like ridiculous now, and you know, it's kind of like my child.
That's insane.
Like,
You know what?
it's incredible to see it grow.
I was gonna say if I had a trophy, I'd pull it out because that, honestly, what you just told us is actually insane. Honestly, the amount of achievements and stuff. You literally bought this from like the ground up. So
Yeah.
fair play, man. Fair play. Big up everyone watching. W Iman in the comments. Honestly, that's a mad one. That's a mad one. Honestly, that's a mad one.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. But yeah, it was incredible.
Sorry, just quickly. Not everyone will know what ERG stands for, so could you just explain the acronym?
Yeah, so ERGs are employee resource groups, and basically most big companies will basically have different employee resource groups, and it's kind of like, I always compare it to like societies and like universities.
Yes, exactly the same.
Networks, and I feel like that's like the best way to sort of describe it. But you've got like BAME, I know, is like a kind of like a universal one. I know for us in our company it's called Embrace. We've got Gleam, which is for LGBTQ plus team, I guess, community, and then we've got women's ERG, we've got military, we've got there's so many. Like, I feel like most companies have loads of different networks. I know there's like faith networks now. For us, social mobility is like the newest sort of ERG at Microsoft, so that's cool to be part of for sure.
Oh yeah. I think at BT we have like stuff like the Muslim Network, Sikh Network, Future Careers Network. It's like one of them stuff, isn't it? Employer Resource Group. It's like, yeah. Got you. Okay, that's cool, man.
Yeah, it's always nice to know that as an employee of a company, there's, you know, things like these resource groups out there and resources in general where you can connect, network with people that are similar to you. It doesn't make you feel like you're alone, you know, because these companies, especially Microsoft, BT, they're massive on scale, and there's no way you're going to be able to talk to everyone, let alone in your office, right? Sometimes your office is huge and you only see a handful of people. So these groups really do give the opportunity to find people that are similar to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say like the ERGs, like for the way they operate as well, it's like you don't even have to identify to be a part of the community. Like, we've got like allies who join as well. Like, I know our sponsor for social mobility, ERG, it's like, you know what, I'm joining purely as like an ally and just to like spread the word. We've got the same with like the women's ERG. You've got like men in there who just support the cause and want to sort of help. So it's definitely very cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and you know, spreading that awareness is really cool. For example, I've helped Chaz out in the Muslim network a few times,
bro,
even though I don't
man.
identify personally. But yeah,
like that's the beauty of networks, because you can just learn about different things. Even if you don't identify to be a part of it, you can still learn more and like be a bit more like multicultural and diverse and stuff like that. So definitely appreciate the companies putting out networks and what they call ERGs.
Yes,
ERGs,
employee resource group
every day.
Yep.
So yeah. The next thing I wanted to ask you, which is a mad one, and I know like I might even seem a bit passionate about this because I've been part of this since day one as well. And in mind, you probably know what's coming next. ACE Insights. Now tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about ACE Insights and what its mission is about.
Yeah, so ACE Insights, I think maybe if anyone doesn't know, stands for Apprentices Creating Excellence, and it started, gosh, don't quote me, it was like I'd say almost 2 years ago. We've definitely hit the 1 year mark, I know. But yeah, essentially it's just a group of passionate apprentices who want to create excellence. But essentially what we're trying to do is sort of break the barriers, you know, sort of get rid of those myths, get rid of those stereotypes that everyone thinks, you know, apprenticeships are, and basically just sort of build a bridge, build like a network between organisations, schools, educational institutions, and also students and young people and career switchers to basically sort of get as much insight as they can about the truth on apprenticeships and sort of connect them towards opportunities, whether it be through insight days, workshops, events, you know, online sessions. basically however we can, and basically just sort of, you know, I just sort of basically redefine what apprenticeships are,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's basically what the mission is,
you
I'd
aced
say.
it. You aced it with that answer. Sorry, I had to drop a quick cheeky little reference there, but had to be done, man. Had to be done. But I was gonna say, like, what what inspired you? Like, I know you talked about what it does, but I know
Mm.
you're big on social mobility and stuff like that. But so, like, what kind of inspired you to get involved with ACE? What was kind of that pushing that got you there?
Yeah, so I'd say when like talks of ACE like were happening, I was like in some apprenticeship group chat, which I feel like maybe a lot of us are in. There's definitely like loads of them floating around, but I was just in some apprenticeship group chat, and I think Hamza, one of the directors, sort of just reached out and was like, this, we're starting this ACE thing, and I was like, cool. Everyone was sort of, supporting him when he sent it in the group chat, and then I think I sort of just like messaged and was like, this is very cool. If you guys need anything, especially on the creative side of things, like, give me a shout. And then I think a few months later down the line, he sent me like a mock up of logos, and I sort of messaged back and was like, right, you need to change this, 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 this. Basically, sent him a whole
Yeah.
graphic of stuff that I liked and didn't like, and then was like, can you join ACE? And I was like, yes, like, sure. And then literally got added into the group chat. They all sort of spoke to me about what their mission was, what they wanted to do, and I was like, you know what, I'm so down. Like, this is definitely something I want to be a part of. And then it sort of just took off from there. And I was very much involved in like the creative, social media, marketing side of things. And you know, as you guys know, I do have like a passion for social mobility, and I knew
Mm,
if I wanted to do something outside of work as well. And I think it was sort of like the perfect opportunity that just sort of came my way
yeah.
in a way, basically. And yeah, that's basically how it all started, to be honest.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I think did you join? I think you joined before me. I joined a bit later, didn't I? I believe.
Yeah. So I joined when it was just, I think, Umer, Zain, Jarir, and Hamza. So
Okay,
just
so you
the
like one of the
directors.
first official members. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was. Yeah, it's like incredible to see how we've grown from like,
yeah. I
we've
know, I
got
know.
our sector specialists, and then we've got, like a massive team, like core team as well. So
Yeah,
it's incredible.
and it's like it's not just like an organization. I see it more like a group of like friends and like a group of people who are committed
Yeah.
to putting apprenticeships out there, like-minded individuals. Because I remember when I know you mentioned Hamza, big up Hamza as always. He's a legendary guy. He's doing a law apprenticeship, but um when I was in like I first started my apprenticeship, I think it was Omer who kind of reached out to me because I showed
Mm.
him because in the same way how you kind of help with the graphic side of things, I kind of showed him that I've done work on like websites and stuff like in the same way like to
Mm.
Omer, and then I kind of
Yeah.
helped build a website, and then there you go, I kind of just joined Ace like that. So like
Yeah.
it's an organization that really can help put your skills to use and put your skills on the map a little bit, and that's what really what Ace is about, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't have a creative role, I would say, like in my day job. But I'm like quite a creative person outside of work, so I was always like sort of down to do anything, whether it be like drawing graphics, creating posters, invites,
Yeah,
things like that. So it was just sort of recognised within the group chat, and then
there you
they
go.
just
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
it just sort of took off from there. And yeah,
So all the graphics you're seeing on the Ace pages, that's all comes down to Iman and a brilliant what's the app? Canva. A brilliant Canva skills,
yeah,
yeah. Big
I've
up Canva as well. Canva's too good.
Is this where you got Canva from, Shaz? You steal it from Iman, or?
No, I was using Canva like more before, but after I saw Iman skills, I was like, you know what? I need to take Canva seriously.
Hmm.
This is a solid app. Because Joe, you know me in it. Whenever I'm doing presentations at
Oh,
work, I'm just using Canva, man. And then I think
straight to Canva. Yeah.
me and Iman are always talking about like the what's the
Canva.
no the events that they do every year. I'm like, yo, Iman,
Yeah,
did you
Canva
see
did
that?
like this, the
Yeah,
keynote, and I
the
remember me
keynote.
and
Yeah,
Chaz just going crazy in the group chat.
yeah, because they're always dropping some like crazy
Two
stuff.
nerds, like,
Yeah, Canva's just too good. Big up Canva. We're not sponsored by the way, but Canva, if you're watching this, Canva, if you're watching this, I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Support
But
the
support the
apprentices.
apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, defo. I was gonna. So, in terms of like, I know you're doing ACE, but what other kind of like passion projects are you involved in outside of work, and like what are your kind of not even hobbies, but like projects, I'd say, like you're working on, like to kind of benefit the apprenticeship space, I'd say?
I would say probably just like one-to-one support. So
Mm,
I feel like the second you sort of make a LinkedIn account, you're going to have, and you
yeah,
sort of start to post on there and you sort of share your experience, you're going to have loads of people sort of, I guess, wanting support, wanting like answers to questions. And I think sort of not ignoring that and just giving back as much as I can. Like, I'd say through that, like, if a student messages me, then for sure I'm going to try to like set 10-20 minutes of my time to sort of just give back through that. Apprenticeship support where I can. I'd say a lot of it still lies within social mobility. Like,
mm,
even in like my day job, I work with external social mobility organizations, and we sort of like host, you know, insight days in our offices. So we just did one recently over the summer holidays. So we did one in Reading and we did one in Paddington, and then also like work experience sessions. Because Microsoft's work experience sort of it operates in a bit of a different way. You sort of need to have a
yeah,
contact in the workplace, and I'll sort of work with the other apprentices and organisations, and sort of if we can like gather like 5 students each, then at least just give them the opportunity to come to the office, speak to professionals, connect with them, and just sort of through things like that. But I would say those are sort of it still very much lies within like social mobility. But perhaps something you guys might see in the future is I love writing and I love reading. So
yeah.
the way I sort of want to, I guess, present like apprenticeship support. I've tried the social media method, but it worked for a while, but didn't know if it was for me. So I think a blog is in the works at the moment. So
You heard it here
Ooh.
first, guys. When this gets famous, you heard it here on Pathway to Profession. The Iman blog
yeah,
is coming soon. It's coming soon.
yeah, I think definitely just like I've sort of attached, I guess, in a way, like my identity very vaguely to it. Like
Mm,
I used to have like a social media account called like Professional Brown Girl and like TikTok where I would sort of my experiences being, young, brown and in the workplace,
yeah,
and basically just sort of taking a spin on that. But I think, if like in like creatively, like I love writing, so definitely something will be something's cooking. I'll use Shaz's line.
yeah.
Something's
Oh,
cooking.
Something's cooking.
oh no.
You know what it is we're talking about this before as well, like the reading and writing stuff. Like you do like writing? Because I remember I think it was me, you, and Hamza on a call one time, and you were just showing like your Goodreads or something. And then I was like,
Yeah,
you know what? Iman's a bookworm. Like she knows how to write, she knows how to read, she knows what she's doing in that sense. But the creative literature, you know what I'm saying? So if we see a blog, that would be cold. That would be cold. But yeah, something's cooking, as she said. So let's see. Let's see what happens in the future. So
A good takeaway though is for anyone who doesn't read, try to read at least a page a day. You know, upgrade your vocabulary, learn to how to articulate yourself, because in the workplace it will benefit you greatly.
I'm still
yeah.
You
reading
want to
Atomic.
seem like a professional.
I'm still reading
So
Atomic Habits to this day. I need to. I need to finish it, man. It's more. It's more
It's
like
been going on for months.
no.
when did you get the book? It's
It's been ages, man. But
I think
like
it's
you,
been over a year.
I think so, yeah.
no, because with me and I like to take my time, read the book nicely, like one word a day. Just absorb all
Hmm.
that information, and just make it a habit. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I got from the book. But yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I need
Yep.
to I need to carry on reading. I'm just gonna take the L on this one. But guys, Iman, the next question I have for you then, yeah, is what would you advise to people trying to get involved in these like different initiatives outside of work, or like maybe ACE, maybe like there's loads of different stuff that like apprentices can do outside of work.
Yeah,
So what would you advise for them to kind of get involved in that?
I would say two things. Like just say yes. Like if an opportunity comes your way and you feel like it's a little bit out of your comfort zone, and you have the capacity to do it, like just say yes. Like
Yeah,
unless you really really don't want to do it, then by all means like don't. But if you feel like it's something cool but you're a bit nervous, like don't be. Just sort of like take it on, and also like just get involved with like different networks, and like you don't have to sort of like commit to like the first network you join. You can join a few and sort of see what you enjoy, what you don't
mm,
enjoy. There's so many different apprenticeship organizations and opportunities out there now that I feel like it's not too difficult to like get involved with
yeah. There's
stuff.
like one opening every day. Like that's how much there's
Yeah,
loads. Yeah,
there's literally everything from like identity networks, I guess what you could call them, and then also like just general like apprenticeship networks. So we,
Mm.
there's like a whole variety of them online. I'm sure if you go on LinkedIn, like you won't miss
You'll
them.
find
And I'd
10,
say
yeah. You find at
just put
least.
yourself forward for the opportunity.
Definitely. And I was gonna say, it's like once you take on an opportunity in it, 10 more will open up. It's kind of like a ripple
Yeah.
effect. So like, for example, when I started stuff with the Muslim Network with BT, then
Mm.
opportunities came about, like more about early careers, like a wider kind of diversity and inclusion events came up from that. So that's why, like, if you say yes to something, one door opens, 10 more will open from that. So I'd always say yes to begin with, and then more will start to come your way, and you won't even have to look for it; it'll just come to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally what I was going to say. Like, if you sort of take on something and give it like your all, like, sort of people sort of like almost recognize you for like something you did,
Mm.
or they'll sort of like know you for a skill that you have or something you're really passionate about. And so when they're sort of thinking of people that they need on board for a project, then you're sort of like the first person that comes to mind. Like,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this before, like my role isn't creative. I'm not like my day job, I'm not creating graphics, I'm not drawing, I'm not, doing all this like creative stuff in my day role, but I have a passion for it and I sort of showed it a lot in my like social mobility work
Yeah.
and our employee resource group, that when we sort of do need creative like help. So for example, we're releasing like a social mobility podcast internally for Microsoft.
Oh,
If you like no one really went to the marketing team and asked for help. They were just sort of like, well, Iman's part of the social mobility ERG. She enjoys making graphics in her free time. She enjoys drawing. She enjoys, this kind of stuff. So they're going to reach out to people that they know. And then the same for the podcast hosts. They knew people who had like the bubbly personality or were passionate about certain things. You sort of create like a personal identity at work when you get involved with these kinds of stuff. And you're sort of like the first person that comes to mind when they need like an opportunity. So
She's cooking.
with
She's cooking,
everything
guys.
your best for
Yeah.
sure.
mm. I've personally experienced that firsthand. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that it's amazing to say yes to opportunities and to pick things up because, like
Mhm.
Iman said, you will get that recognition, and for some people, you'll become their first choice, which leads to more experience and so on. But you have to say no sometimes because you don't want to be
Yeah.
known as the guy or the person that does the
Yeah.
admin or all these very tedious tasks that would get dropped on your lap, and it'll be a bunch of side projects that you don't have time for, and it'll fill up your day. So ideally you want to chase after the high value opportunities as much as you can. Obviously, as an apprentice, you will have to do some dirty work to get there, but once you get there, stay there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say. But yeah.
No, I definitely agree on that. I think also as an apprentice, you sort of sometimes it was a bit like nerve wracking saying no for like the first time. It's like, what, like I actually can't take this on. But no, that's definitely
Mm,
good advice. Like I know when I first joined, like I can say I'm guilty of it. I would say yes to everything. Like the first 6 months, anything that came my way, I was like, yes, I'll do it. And then my manager was like, are you all right? Like you've got like all this stuff going on. I was like, actually, like no.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
like split some things up. And I think just sort of having, if you sort of go into the mindset of like saying yes to stuff you're passionate about or stuff that you know is going to help you grow, I think just sort of think about it before you say yes. But yeah, I definitely agree.
Definitely. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you don't want to get burnt out. That is
It don't feel
the
good, does
worst
it?
things to experience.
Mm.
But yes, you mentioned a lot of things about social media, social marketing. Let's talk about your own personal brand and how it's helped you grow professionally. So,
Mhm.
I remember you mentioned your TikTok and all sorts of other stuff. So, obviously, I'm assuming personal branding is very important to you. But do you think all early career professionals should try and aim for it, make their own personal brand?
I would, yes and no, I guess is my
Hmm.
answer. So
Okay.
let me go into it. So I'd say in terms of like social media, it's it's a very it's a very controversial space. It's a very like there's good parts to it and then there's bad parts to it. I think what we're seeing a lot of now, like we're seeing a lot of like apprentices on social media, which, you know, is a good thing because they're sharing like, you know, information about their career, their journey into an apprenticeship, sort of what they're doing, the industry that they're working in, which is, you know, great for someone who's considering an apprenticeship in that space. But at the same time, you know, we're also seeing loads of apprentices online, I think not necessarily sharing like, you know, the I guess the downside, which, you know, there is to everything, whether it be university, whether it be apprenticeships, whether it be, you know, whatever sort of pathway you decide to take, there are going to be cons. And I think you don't want to glamorize what you're doing. If you are going to sort of create your own personal brand, make it authentic, make it, you know, as truthful as you can. But also, you know, I think there's sort of like a fine line between like glamorizing something and then also, you know, not sharing like the full truth. And I think that's when it can get a bit. And I think, you know, I can say I'm guilty of it. When I first started like my like Instagram and my TikTok, like I was only sort of sharing like snippets of my day, and I remember like one of the comments saying, "When do you actually work?" And I was like,
yes.
you know what? I've created a 30-second video about the week of my life as an apprentice, and maybe like 2 seconds of it will work. So you can see why people do think that way. But I'd say just try to be authentic, try to be truthful. Of course, I know like a lot of the stuff the apprentices like work on is like confidential, and you know you can't share it. But I guess just, you know, try to be authentic. But then at the same time, I feel like you also don't need social media to have like a personal brand. I think
True.
if you are just true to yourself in like the work that you do, it will sort of just show like through your personality and like your work ethic and, you know, in the workplace, and you sort of create your own personal branding. We sort of do it like unintentionally anyway.
No, like a prime
So
example. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say a prime example is Joe, because like for example, I know Joe isn't too active on socials, but like he's got a brand, like especially
yeah,
internally as well within the workplace. People know he's that guy. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Social media isn't exactly needed. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah,
And I think you don't like, I know like it's scary to like post on social media for some people as well. So
mm,
that's completely understandable. I think find what works for you and, you know, just stick to it. But I would say if you are going to create like your own personal brand, try to make it like true to yourself if you are.
defo.
I remember you brought up the point where it was like you only showed a few seconds of you working. There was a big deal with, I believe, Twitter employees or something, or Google employees, where they just walked around. They just showed their rest areas, the canteen. You know, so it was like, I go to the office, I got some food, I sat in this really cool area, I ate my food, I went to this other area, and there was no work, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's, you know, we are doing work, but like you said, most of it can be confidential and we can't show it. But if you are going to do your personal brand, just, you know, say that, hey, I am doing work. Don't worry, I didn't just sit around, eat food
Yeah.
all day. Plus, you know, it's not an exciting thing to see in a video. You just typing away on your keyboard or on a call or whatnot. So yeah, there's reasons why, you know, they're not included in most TikToks, but or videos across social media. But yeah, a big thing though is one of the reasons I don't really go for social media, or at least right now. I've been thinking about it. I've seen Shaz do it. He's inspired me a little, you
Bro,
know.
bro, that's all from Fider, man. Fider's not here, but like she's like the
Oh,
TikTok
it's
connoisseur.
all a
It's like a
cycle, you know.
it's a
Everyone's
cycle, man.
influencing everyone.
It's a cycle.
Um, yeah, I was just going to ask. It takes a lot of time
Mm.
managing all these different social media accounts on top of your work, on top of university or whatever qualification you're going for. How the hell do you balance everything? Your personal brand, your professional responsibilities at Microsoft, your studying. It's a lot.
I think you just have to prioritize. So I like, don't get me wrong, there are times when like my time management is just completely out the window and it's like chaos. But I would say you just have to prioritize. Like there's just no getting behind it. I know, like for me, when it comes to like the corporate side of things and like work side of things, I know that my work sort of takes priority. So if I've got a deadline or I've got like a project that needs to be done by a certain time, I know that's going to sort of take priority over everything else. And things like social media, things like the personal branding kind of do fall behind. And for me, I'm sort of okay with making that sacrifice, I would say, because I know I can sort of pick up on it later. But yeah, I'd say I definitely like prioritize work and like the apprenticeship side of things, because for me, I do enjoy the academic validation and I do
Yeah.
like getting good grades. So I would say, like, when things at work are getting too busy, I will like sort of like let my manager know. And she's lovely, she's so supportive, and she's sort of like, yes, like absolutely, like if you need more time for like apprenticeship
Oh,
work, if I can do stuff, like if I can do anything to help you on your project, or you need to do something, then like we can find the balance, and then you can just sort of pick up from like where you left. So I'd say having a good internal and external work support system like definitely helps. So I've got like my manager and my skills coach sort of hold me accountable, but also like give me support when I'm sort of like trying to juggle the two. And then also like outside of work, so we've got ACE, I've got like different apprenticeship like group chats where I can sort of like lean on people, but also like reach out for advice, or they can sort of be like, have you done your assignment yet, how is it going? And then also it's like family, it's like sometimes you need a break from work, like take some annual leave. So I think support system, and also just like prioritizing. I know that my work and my apprenticeship is sort of like top priority for me, and then personal branding and other stuff sort of come afterwards. And I don't see things like social media and like sharing my like apprenticeship experience on like LinkedIn or through a TikTok video. I don't see it as work, and I think I want it to be that way. Otherwise,
Yeah.
when it becomes like work, it becomes a chore. And I think that's when it's like, I'm just not going to be passionate about it, and I think it's going to be so obvious in like the content that you end up putting out.
Yeah.
But yeah, just finding a balance, to be honest, and having people who can sort of hold you accountable.
yeah, that's unfortunately for me, I just don't see LinkedIn as something I can do and separate it from my mind as that it's not work, because at the end of the day, you're building your LinkedIn profile for your career, which
Yeah,
ultimately leads to work. And my brain just,
Yeah.
I've never been on social media personally, so I can't make that distinction. But yeah, having that support system internally and externally is really, really useful. Unfortunately, not everyone will have access to things like that. They might have a boss or manager which isn't the most supportive, or they're constantly busy, so they just can't help you. So look in your company, see what resources they have, and if there's nothing there, then there's a reason why these groups and communities exist for apprentices. We're there to give
Yeah.
you that support and advice. So reach out, take that first step. That's the most important thing if you're struggling. But yeah, I'll give it to Shaz now.
So just before we finish off as well, we've got a few last questions for Iman, which is like, this is like more like focused on the listeners and how they can benefit from doing an apprenticeship. Is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received during your apprenticeship?
Quite the broad question. Good
wow.
luck.
I know it's a
The
mad
best.
one, but
I've gotten a lot of advice. I'd say. Oh wow. If I had to like pinpoint one, so it's. I mean, it doesn't sound very like it doesn't sound like a really like heart moving like quote or anything, but basically just I would say enjoy yourself, and also you're there to learn. I think
facts.
as apprentices, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. No matter what stage you are in your apprenticeship, I think there's just a lot of pressure from the get go, pretty much from when you sign that contract, that you sort of have to know everything when you go into this apprenticeship. And like, I think, like, I remember I was so convinced, like, that they were going to fire me because I wasn't doing anything like the first 6 months. Because I joined in the lockdown period, so I was just at home with my laptop, just doing training. And I think you have to understand you're there to learn, and you're there to like make mistakes in a safe environment where you can learn from them. And I think sometimes we forget that. We just sort of feel like we need to know everything, be the best at everything, sort of perfect something on like the first go. And that's not true. Like, you're an apprentice, and the whole point of an apprentice is that you're learning and working. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'd say it's such a unique opportunity as well. Like, make the most of it. Like, there's not a lot of people our age who are in like the same position as us. And I think a lot of the stuff we get to do, not like your average 21 or 18-year-old, however old you are, is like really doing. So, it definitely make the most of it, whether it's through your work, through your network, people you meet, the events you go to, just sort of enjoy it as well, because you're only an apprentice for like X amount of years. So
Yeah,
definitely enjoy the experience.
definitely, yeah. Now, I was gonna ask the next question I was gonna ask was actually how can someone make the most out of their apprenticeship, but you pretty much answered that question with this one.
Yeah,
So
she
yeah,
summed it up pretty
yeah,
good. Yeah.
pretty well, yeah. So
Yeah, it is important that you enjoy the work you do. A personal story from me is the reason I left university was I did not enjoy studying mechanical engineering, even though
Mm.
sure I could graduate, finish this last year. I just knew that the job or career I would be in, I would be miserable, and I wouldn't
mm,
want to go to my day job. Um, I was barely getting out of bed to go to the lectures, and then even though I would be there, I just was not interested. And at that point, I was like, okay, I have to look for something different. Um, and I'm so glad I did. You know, you shouldn't be afraid to look for other options. You shouldn't feel like you're stuck in one lane since secondary
Yeah.
school, sixth form. Do your own research like Iman, like Shaz, like I did. A bit better earlier than later, but better late than never, I
yeah.
suppose. Because I'm 22, I'm turning 23. And, we've got people like Shaz who's very young compared to me.
Nah,
I
I'm not
wish
that
I'd
young,
done
bro.
it
It's only two
sooner.
years, bro.
It's a big, I spent
Hmm.
those 2 years at uni, which I could have spent, doing this scheme, and I could be done already, right?
But Joe,
But
it's not about how you
yeah, go
start;
on.
it's about how you finish. You know what I'm saying?
True, exactly. You got to look on the bright side.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just really glad that I'm here and I'm actually enjoying the work I do. So even if it does sacrifice 2 years of your life, I wouldn't, I'll take this over being stuck in mechanical engineering any day.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'd say like you found the opportunity now, and it's, you know, I hope you're enjoying your apprenticeship now. So
Yes,
it
yes.
worked for you. And like, I kind of feel the same way as well, because I started on a level 3 and I was like, I'm basically doing my A levels again. And I
Mm,
was saying in like a group chat the other day, like I'm going to be like 24, 25 when I graduate. And I was like, everyone my age is like graduated. So like all the
Hmm.
people I went to school with, that's what graduating. And I'm seeing the pictures and I'm like, I still have like 2 more years left of my degree because I made that transition. But then
yeah.
I'm looking back and I'm like, I can't really complain because I've got the experience in a technical field and I knew I didn't want to sort of pursue like a technical career. So I moved to business. And I'm also getting a debt free degree. So, you
Yeah.
kind of have to weigh up your options. So,
And it's like I feel like a lot of people chase after grades or chase after a degree, but like at the end of the day, like I used to be the same as well. I used to think, you know what, this degree is very, very important, and yeah, it is. But it's like I've always thought experience is a lot more important. Like the
mm,
journey, like I spoke about this on like my LinkedIn and my TikTok as well before, and it's like there's this guy called Sisyphus in like Greek mythology in it, and he pushes a boulder. He got condemned by the gods for his deceitfulness, and he had to be pushing a boulder non-stop for eternity, right? And what it teaches you is that sometimes it's not about the goal, it's not about the end goal, it's about the journey. It's about savoring the journey because especially me with this apprenticeship, I've learned so much. I've met so many
mm,
amazing people, and it's like once the apprenticeship is over, I'd be sad. Like I'd be happy that I've got my degree, but I'd be sad that you know what, I'm not an apprentice anymore because it's literally become
yeah.
part of my identity now. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where you have to savor the journey and make every moment count. So yeah.
That's a really good metaphor. Whoever gave you that must have been a very smart individual. I like
Hmm.
him. um,
I think his name starts with G.
mm,
Yeah. Ends with
yeah.
L. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, I quite like the frame that you put that in. We all know that our scheme and or our apprenticeship will end. And after that, it's kind of a big question mark for most people. They don't know what they want to do. A lot of people will stay on, do their job at the same company, but where? There's so many departments. There's so many places to go. So for the time being, just make the most out of what you have and don't worry that it's gonna end. It will work out.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. Any last things you want to say, man, before we leave? Any key takeaways from your journey? Anything like that?
I'd say thanks for having me.
No.
Pleasure's
It's
ours.
been
Very
good. I
welcome.
don't even know how long we've been speaking for. I feel like it went so quick, but no, it was great. It's good to be here, share my experience, sort of take a trip down memory lane. But yeah, I'd say if you are considering an apprenticeship, you know, definitely keep your options open, have an open mindset. And also, I'd say thank you to our two hosts. I think what you guys are doing is very cool. I think, especially like when I was like 17 applying for apprenticeships, you know, if it can help other students out there or career switchers or whatever stage you may be and you're considering an apprenticeship, it's definitely a podcast to watch and sort of,
Thank you very much.
you
Thank
know,
you.
take away any insights if you can.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I wish I had a resource like this when I was younger. But yes, thank you,
Here it
Iman.
is
We
now,
really
yeah.
appreciate having you. Yeah. All right. Let's end it there. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to Pathway to Profession. We'll see you. When are we seeing them, Shaz? You gotta
We
tell
are
me.
we're gonna see them next week, hopefully, yeah. But guys, don't hold me to that because my time management, as we discussed on this episode, is not the greatest. So, but hopefully next week, next week. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Iman, for being on the show today, and thank you.
That was really sexy. All right, bye
All right,
guys.
chill, man. All right, relax, relax.